I saying to start, we thinking Origin is probably one of our record with more deep so far we had the chance to listen to. While composing it, was the direction of it always clear for you? What was the inspiration for it?
Well, as I said, the song lengths are a lot shorter. So that's something that's different than the previous albums, and also the production's a lot better, as I said. Yeah, was it clear? I don't know. It's just something that happened. I started writing it in maybe end of 2019, going into 2020. I had a sort of baseline for it. It wasn't 100% complete, and I listened to a lot of heavy metal during lockdown. You know, I was never a big heavy metal fan, but for some reason in 2020 during lockdown, I started discovering all these bands and I loved it. So you'll hear a lot of you know, dual guitar leads and galloping guitars inspired by Iron Maiden and bands like that. Also, there's a lot more riffs. It's a lot more guitar driven, I would say, compared to the last albums. Vocally, I would say it's an improvement. I would say my voice is sounds healthier than the previous albums. But yeah, it's just been a progression from you know, writing Forgotten Paths to this album. It's a bit different in certain ways, but it's the same in other ways. So yeah, it was just a natural progression, to be honest.
Well, fine. Is there a common theme to all the lyrics on the record? What were you trying to communicate with this album in particular?
Basically, the whole album is influenced by the Picts, which is an ancient Scottish people. They lived in the north and the eastern of Scotland during the Roman occupation of Britain, and it's based loosely around them, and they left behind a lot of beautiful carved stones, and yeah, I was just really interested in the history side of things, and obviously influenced by Scottish nature and all the usual themes that you know, I've covered in previous albums, but the main theme is the Picts, and it's not based in any historical, you know, battle or person or anything. It's just my view of it, and it's a bit of romanticism, a bit of you know, just my imagination, really. So yeah, that's kind of what the album's about. Mainly based around the Picts.
A lot of your lyrics is about landscape or even events historics, and some point are closely linked to literature or philosophy. Are there any specific author you tend to have as reference? Or were there any specific ones for this album, or maybe not an author but any other artistic influence?
No specific authors. No, it was more influenced, as I said, by I've always been obsessed with you know, Roman Britain. I've always been interested in history, and obviously in Scotland, had as I said, the Picts, and I was always influenced by them and what we know of them. We don't know a lot about them, so I can take some sort of you know, I can make up some stuff because there's a lot of gaps in history, and we don't know everything about them. So yeah, that was kind of yeah, that was the only kind of inspiration for this. There was no poems on this album, nothing like that. It was just all influenced by the history side, and Musically, as I said, it's influenced by a lot of genres. Um, you could cover black metal, folk metal, heavy metal. There's loads of different stuff with obviously the Scottish folk influences on top of that. So yeah, no authors, unfortunately.
Okay. Uh, the cover of this album is once again absolutely marvelous. Uh, to what extent do you consider an album cover is important for the overall understanding of the work? And what would you say are the key elements that can make or break a great cover?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a difficult one. Um, well, obviously, when you think back to some of your favorite albums, maybe one of the first things that comes into your mind is the cover. Um, you know, um, with SAOR, I always wanted to show the Scottish landscape, the beauty of it, and the mystery um, of it. And yeah, I think it's really important. But um, difficult question to answer. uh,
Okay.
there is well, you can think of loads of famous bands, and you do think about their covers. Like you'll see a certain album, and you'll think of the cover. What do you think of when I say Nirvana, Nevermind? You know what the album cover is. So
Yes.
it is pretty important. But in metal, um, yeah, I think a lot of bands try to put their lyrical themes in the cover. Um, you know, so people know what they're getting themselves into when they put the record on. Whereas other genres, it can be a little bit more arty and doesn't particularly need to reference the music or the lyrical themes.
How do you distinguish Saur and Fuad when it's time to sit down to plan and compose a new work?
Oh, uh, um, I suppose with Fua, it is. I do go into writing Fua material. I know I want to write black metal, and I know that's all I want to write. I don't want to add any folk instruments or acoustic guitars or clean, like loads of clean vocals. I just want it to be quite a dark atmosphere. It's when winter comes around, I really like to listen to all my old black metal albums, all the old school classics, Dark Throne, Burzum, Vindia, loads of black metal, and I get really inspired by that. And obviously the weather is really cold and horrible, so you get a lot of inspiration from that. So with Fua, that's kind of around the time I fancy writing more sort of grim, wintry black metal. But as you know, you can probably tell it's me writing it because I have a certain way of writing music. So with SAOR, I write all through the year and just demo loads of different stuff until it finally clicks. I know with SAOR, I'm going into it doing stuff based around Scottish nature and history and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of how I can separate both projects. But obviously, there's quite a lot of similarities in ways because it's me who's writing both. So yeah.
As far as extreme metal goes, um, what's the scenes like in Scotland? Uh, are there any bands in particular you like to mention?
I don't really know, to be honest. um, I don't really pay much attention to scenes or the Scottish scene in particular. I think being from here, um, you know, I don't know. I just don't really pay attention to it. Bands I could mention. God, Funny thing is, I'm having a hard time even thinking of any bands. God, I don't know. I know that there's older bands that are good. There's a band called Angel who released a demo back in 2002 that I really like. They had a song called Pictish Pride on it, which I covered for the Roots re-release. So I really like their style of black metal, but they've never released anything else. So they've only released one demo. There's a band called Adabrock from the Isle of Lewis. His stuff's really good. It's really atmospheric black metal. There's probably a lot of kind of more mainstream bands that have come out of Scotland, like mainstream metal. But there is a there is an underground scene somewhere. I just don't know anything about it.
How did you get into the black metal, and why did you choose atmospheric folk as your niche? What led you to it?
I got into black metal when I was in high school, when I was a teenager. Um, I used to hang about with some guys that were into alternative music, and one of the guys was a metalhead, and I used to listen to. Well, I still listen to them, but the bands that I started listening to were like Iron Maiden or whatever, and like Nirvana and all that kind of stuff, like mainstream stuff. Um, and then my friend said, "Oh, you need to check this out," and he gave me like Cradle of Filth, Dimmu Borgir, all these kind of like gothic, symphonic, not really black metal, but influenced kind of stuff. I thought this is great. This is really extreme and heavy. And then the next time, I gave them back the CDs, and they were like, "How did you like that?" And I said, "Yeah, it was really good. I love it." And they're like, "Right, here we go." And hands a Dark Throne CD. And they're like, "Right, tell me what you think of this." And I'm like, "Oh, great." And I remember putting the CD in, and I'm like, "What the fuck is this? Like, this is like going from well-produced symphonic black metal to Dark Throne." And I'm sitting there. It's like there's wasps in the room because of the guitar tone. It's like it's really like it was really weird, but as a black metal fan yourself, you'll know something just clicks, and then you really understand it and get into it. After that, my friend said, "I'll give you a loan of any CDs you want," and he gave me there's tons of old Emperor, Mayhem, Burzum, all the Norwegian classics, and from there, that's where I really got into black metal. I think it changed when I listened to Vindir from Norway.
Mhm.
They have a lot of folk passages in their sound without it sounding really cheesy. It sounds really like authentic, and I loved the fact he mixed his traditional folk sounds with the black metal harshness. So that's kind of when I got into more folk styles and extreme music. Vindir were huge influence for me, even doing this kind of music, because I don't really like a lot of folk metal, believe it or not. Uh, I find I find a lot of the bands are really cheesy, and like I don't like the whole singing about drinking and battle, like the really shitty stuff, and it's like really cheesy use of bagpipes and flutes and stuff. I hate all that stuff. So I I wanted to like incorporate the folk instruments in a kind of authentic way where it wasn't cheesy, it was more emotional or more epic. Yeah, so that's how I got into uh, those styles of music.
Well, it seems you're finally you come to Spain by the end of this year. There's been a series of unfortunate events,
The cursed country.
yes. What do you expect from this tour in particular? Do you know already which musicians are going to join you? Can we get that scoop?
Musicians that are joining me, just the same guys that join me all the time. Just the same old guys. But yeah, we're looking forward to actually finally coming to Spain. You know, there's been so many places that we've went to, and it's so weird we haven't played in Spain. Obviously, we were meant to about 3 times previously, and there's either been cancellation, flights have been cancelled, something's happened. So fingers crossed we're actually we'll actually get there in one piece.
And what do you expect from the public from here, Spain?
Yeah, obviously, guys have got a lot of good metal over there, so I'm hoping we get a good turnout. And you know, I'm sure it'll be too good. It's two gigs, isn't it? In Spain, two. Is it Madrid and
Madrid and Barcelona? I think.
Yeah. So yeah, we're really looking forward to it. Obviously, because we've not played there, it's quite exciting for us to play a new country. Because as I said, I find it just really weird that we haven't played there. We've played everywhere else around Europe, and then Spain's just this place we've never played. So I'm really looking forward to it, and I think the crowd will be really up for it. And yeah, you're better telling me how the crowd's going to be. What are the Spanish crowds like?
Hi, I'm a curious
How you doing?
bystander here. I just wanted to, well, first to tell you we'll be waiting for you once you finally get here. It'll be lovely to get to see you. And then also, you mentioned something earlier about how in your creative process you tend to consider, like, you know, the story, what you do know, but there's a lot of that historical part that is missing, and then you tend to make it up. How has that process, like, where does that come from? Is it like you know it because there's like an oral tradition among families to tell stories, myths, poems about this, or like what is the research process you follow to like come up with those bits and pieces that you say that, well, are not historically, you know, based on evidence, but that you actually come up with them?
Like on Origins are based on the Picts.
Yes.
And we obviously know a bit about them, but there's a lot we don't know, and we are just relying a lot on Roman documentation, which is really biased.
Yeah.
The songs on it, like Call of the Carnix, the opening track is based on the sound of the Carnix before battle and what a warrior would be feeling before the battle, you know. So that's just my imagination. Then you've got Fallen, which is the next track, which is just about a fallen warrior and how the people would honor the fallen warrior. So a lot of it is just my imagination, but there is, the track Beyond the Wall is based around like I live along where the Antonine Wall would have been, and that was kind of to keep out us pesky Scots from invading and looting south of the border. So yeah, it's just a mix of things really. I think it would be a bit boring if I just kept to the facts, to be honest.
Of course.
Because I could sing about the trading routes between Scotland and England.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't make very exciting lyrics,
That's all the question we have for you. Thank you very much for your time, and expecting here in Madrid soon.
Yeah, it'll be good. I'm really looking forward to going on that tour. It should be good, and finally going to Spain.
Yes, finally.
Finally. Like, hopefully, everything goes smoothly, and we actually, when we step on the Spanish soil, that'll be time to celebrate.